Hello, internet friends. My name is Bay, and welcome to the Battle for Azeroth Alpha, and my first pass look at the Fire Mage. This is the only mage spec of all of them that I have any first-hand real gameplay on. For this expansion, last, and the previous, I have dabbled in a Fire Mage ult here and there. So I know a little bit more about the Fire Mage, and I'm going to sort of flip this video and talk about utility stuff first, which does sort of affect and has you've seen in the Frost Mage and Arcane Mage videos, there have been small tweaks with all three mage specs, fire to be included, because outside of Ice Block and your barrier, which is varying degrees of potential damage savingness to stay alive, Mage really doesn't have any of their tools, but there have been slight tweaks to bring up their defensive toolkit just a little bit, and fire, of course, is no exception. But in this video, of course, if you want to watch all of the testing we did, it was sort of a quicker, more exploration-oriented testing video. We didn't have to do any crazy math, so the whole VOD will be up on this channel right here on YouTube, of course, or you can check out the live streams. My Twitch link is down below in the description box, or you could subscribe right here to the YouTube channel and keep up to date with all of the changes coming and all of the first pass coverage yet to come and all of the second pass, island explorations, warfronts, etc. Or poke me on Twitter and let me know if I have done something horribly wrong, because I have hundreds of people that I sort of like loop back in on these videos as we talk about them, and I hear this like, you know, non-scripted discussion about everything we're sort of finding out and figuring out in the first pass here. And these are baseline update videos, so they're not supposed to be just, here's what's new, that's it. I'm trying to recant the findings and the little bits and pieces we have found throughout our journey on the alpha. Now, the first thing I will go over are the baseline changes to the Fire Mage. You will see the talent calculator as it is currently laid out. There are quite a number of things that are just returning from Legion. And out of all three mage specs, and one of the reasons why I left Fire to be last, was that Fire Mage can more or less be played nearly identical to how Legion is right now. Outside of a few tweaks, if you spec a certain way, most likely the way that I'm looking at right here next to, or you can take Searing Touch, we'll look at those in a minute, you can basically play a Bracer Belt Fire Mage from live. Whereas Frost and Arcane can't do that. Blizzard has tried to sort of curve the RNG potential of Frost and make it a little less ridiculous, and also sort of streamline the way you play Arcane, but Fire Mage just works. It still works, and if you want to spec and play the exact same way as you do on live, that's the Fire Mage video. It's over, that's it. I'm obviously kidding. Some big things of note right off the bat here is because of the change to utility in the kit of every single spec in the game towards slows, snares, knockbacks, and stuns, etc. Those have all been toned way back so that when you actually specialize in doing something like that or bringing that to your group, it is more powerful. The first one up to bat here is the snare, the slow, on Flame Strike is now way more of a snare. It's a 20% movement speed reduction for 8 seconds, opposed to the actual slow of the 50% it currently is on live. Dragon's Breath disorientation still stays 4 seconds, mostly because of probably the PvP balance of how Dragon's Breath is a disorient that breaks on damage, but you do the whole Dragon's Breath Meteor wombo combo, where you try to like wombo in that 4-second disorient window because Meteor has that 3-second landing animation basically. Combustion baseline on live lasts 14 seconds. It lasts 12. They give you a little bit of that artifact trait, so you don't have the short, super short combustion that you had before Legion, but you don't have the 14 to 17 seconds you can have depending on traits with the NLC, for example. So, nice little medium ground there. Combustion is still off the global cooldown, by the way. You can still cast it while casting other spells. You'll see the global spin right there, but you can definitely just pop it when you're casting other spells. So that is still there. Otherwise, it's going to be a problem. All the Fury Warriors out there just listening to this video just for what else is happening with the specs, I'm so sorry. I feel for you. Recklessness should be just the same way as combustion. It's ridiculous that it's on the global cooldown. I understand. I get it. Maybe we'll see it changed. Some of the other things that have been changed to global cooldowns. It's okay, honestly. And the biggest little thing that I want to talk about right off the bat here, and I need to run all the way down and get ourselves a troll to attack while I sort of talk about the Fire Mage and the testing we did today, is Blast Wave. It still has the 70% actual huge big slow for 4 seconds and the AoE around the mage, and it does pretty okay damage. In comparison to other spells, its damage is not nothing. Like on live right now, you Blast Wave and what happened? The big thing you're going to read right there in the tooltip is that it says knocking them back. And why I'm sort of flipping this video in the reverse with talking about utility and things first is because I just opened with the fact that Fire Mage just is almost the exact same as on live. But Blast Wave is a micro knockback. That means that the Fire Mage has Ring of Frost as a pseudo interrupt. It has Dragon's Breath as the interrupt you're all used to. It has Counterspell as the interrupt you've been using for forever. And then it has Blast Wave. So it has this. Also, the alpha lag is crazy how I... Whoop! The potential power of having 3 interrupts on a Fire Mage... You could do this all day. You can... Oh, I mean, I also murdered the troll. But Blast Wave now, because it's a micro knockback, interrupts spellcasts. Only interrupts them, right? But because it's a knockback, that is a different type of interrupt than a counterspell. And it's also a different type of interrupt, I believe, than a disorient. Right? Disorients and blinds and fears are in the same category. Knockbacks are in their own. I'm not sure about the actual DR potential of this, but still getting knocked back in any PvE or PvP sense is actually really strong. If you've never done Mythic Plus before, this is a huge sudden, like, oh. Shimmer remains the same in this tier, and then the Blazing Soul has been reworked. Blazing Soul on live right now is the whole when you're near 8 yards around you doing fire damage, it charges your shield up. The new Blazing Soul is that casting Blink will ignite your blazing barrier around you. So you have, I'll have to go back up to the tanking dummy to show this off. You have Blazing Barrier attached to your Blink, which is kind of like the Blink heal you can have right now with artifacts in Legion, but obviously you can't because your artifact's gone, right? Fire Melon is no more. You have to give away Fire Melon. So Blazing Soul now, the first thing we thought of when we were testing this today on stream is you still have Cauterize, and it's all the same. Everything else is the same baseline for the Fire Mage, but Cauterize is one of the baseline differences between the Arcane Mage, Frost Mage, and Fire Mage, having this Cheat Death built in. The Cheat Death Blazing Speed combination. So Critical Mass is still the same. It still gives you the crit synergy, so you want to get to like 60-ish% crit. It gives you the crit amp and the extra crit baseline. Enhanced Pyrotechnics remains the same. Hot Streak is the same, and your Mastery Ignite, thank heavens, is still the same. It only works on direct damage spells. So Fireball, Fire Blast, Scorch, Pyro, and Flame Strike. It doesn't work on other dots and things of that nature. Still has the, if there's a target within range, it will still spread, and Ignite spreads every tick of it. But back to the Blazing Barrier change. There is a really awkward thing in the community that everyone, or at least not everyone, a large majority of the community devalues personal survivability, but dead DPS does no DPS. I'm talking to a DPS player of a decade, been playing Enhancement Shaman. So this small tweak, and I harped about this really heavily in the Arms and Fury Warrior videos because they have impending victory baseline now. And Fury, remember, doesn't get Victory Rush. If you don't play Warrior, they don't get Victory Rush. So you can get impending victory, and you can get that survivability right there baseline. But so we're going to proc Cauterize real quick here. And right now, Cauterize can actually almost kill you. But because you can refresh your Blazing Barrier with not only just casting it, but then blinking with Blazing Soul, you don't take any damage. Now, you gotta be really careful, and blinking in place, not running around like an idiot like I just did, is probably more beneficial. But, I mean, still, get me out of combat. But right now, Cauterize is really powerful. Any Fire Mage will tell you that. But how many times have you cauterized and you were like, yeah, I'm alive, I'm good? The extra damage amp you take from that huge dot, if you don't get anything else and any other damage source from any encounter, raid boss, whatever, smacks you in the face, you're just dead. So Blazing Soul looks quite interesting. Frenetic speed, it stays the same. It's the little Scorch sprint. Wow, the lag on the alpha has not gone away hours and hours later. That's unfortunate. Ice Ward is still 2 charges of Frost Nova, and of course Ring of Frost is the same. The Fire Mage lost a number of talents. You lost Conflagration. That is now gone, so you don't have all the extra dots to spread. You lost the Controlled Burn talent, and you were given Phoenix Flames, Pyroclasm, Searing Touch. Off the top of my head right now, I forgot actually what else you lost. Unfortunately, you still have Unstable Magic, which is like the best single target DPS in this tier. Living Bomb remains the same. Very much a mass spread AoE talent, and Flame Patch, the oh so juicy multi-flame strike layering for that burning ground that everyone likes so much. The new talents. Well, we'll focus on the new talents first, because the overall rotation of the Fire Mage is not going to change. You're going to do Fire Mage things. You're going to juggle getting a crit into heating up, and then always Fireball into your Pyroblast, kids. Always Fireball into your Pyroblast, unless you're within like a Rune of Power window and you have to use the global. Always make sure you cast your Fire Blast while you're casting, so you don't mess that up. Ooh, we got a proc on it. Yeah. Oh my goodness. So Fire Mage is still Fire Mage. It still works just fine. And even in this crappy gear that I have, I still have 37% crit, which is not terrible. Not terrible, but also not very good. Ooh, that's a bracer proc right there. So Pyromaniac remains the same. Firestarter remained the same. However, they've given you your belt. So Searing Touch is now a baselineable talent where Scorch will deal 300%, which is 4 times damage, increased damage, and is guaranteed critical strike when a target is below 30% health. The weird thing about this is that this talent, Searing Touch, being a baselineable ability now, and a passive all the time without having to worry about some, you know, legendary or anything like that, is really too powerful. Overall, it's going to make using any other talent in this tier almost worthless. There's no point, because at least our baseline testing, any progression fight, it's so good to have an execute. You're going to be in the execute window for so long that it's ridiculous to think about not having the execute. Because Pyromaniac is good, but it's an 8% chance whenever you consume Hot Streak to just re-Hot Streak, right? It's divine purpose for Fire Mage. And Firestarter only has the 90% health window, the reverse execute, which Firestarter has incredible synergy with Kindling. But I'm not really sure if they have to nerf Searing Touch or buff Pyromaniac or buff Firestarter's reverse execute window. I don't know if Pyromaniac should affect more things or should have a 10% chance, because the math on Searing Touch, when, say, for any mythic or even heroic for first progression fight, how long are you in execute phase? Sometimes a very long time. You're talking like 2-3 minutes of combat time. And I'm really positive that math-wise, having Searing Touch base is going to be huge. All the time. So, but that is neither here nor there. Rune of Power and Incanter's Flow are unchanged. So depending on what you require, the Rune of Power window is way more powerful for the Fire Mage. We just did Frost recently, and Frost Mages are like, Rune of Power. It kind of works. There's like a crazy Glacial Spike, Ebon Bolt, Brain Freeze, Double Fingers of Frost, possibly maybe even the stupid Ray of Frost build that might be good in Rune of Power. But otherwise than that, Frost Mages are like, And then all mages out there, I'm so sorry that Mirror Image is so bad. we were brainstorming some mirror images thoughts today on stream, where I just don't know why mirror images for fire don't just have their own ignite. So there's at least a scaling cooldown, a little more than just int. I don't know why they don't give you arcane charges or chances to give you arcane charges as arcane. I don't know why they don't give you a chance to give you fingers of frost procs as frost. I don't understand. They're just so boring. They cast an auto attack for 40 seconds. They have no scaling with combustion. You cannot combustion mirror images. There's no crit snapshotting at all. They just auto attack. It's just the boringest thing of all time. And then Incanter's Flow again works out to be about a 12%-ish passive damage increase. So 12% all the time, Yawn, Talent, or Rune of Power. I have Phoenix Flames talented here, and it has been tuned slightly different. It is currently also bugged right now in the alpha. So currently on Fire Melon, it's a 45-second recharge, and it gives you a heating up or one hot streak stack, basically, right? But now it does initial damage, a lot of initial damage, and a little splash damage. But let me just show you the bug right now that we're thinking cannot go live, otherwise you will always use Phoenix Flames. So the AoE tied behind Phoenix Flames hit and then burst gives you a stack of hot streak, which is ridiculous. So they have to decouple that, or Alexstras's Fury or Flame On, which have been unchanged, are going to be lost to the annals of time. Alexstras's Fury still only gives you like the one stack of hot streak, right? Just the one contributing hot streak or heating up or the hot streak. That's all it gives you. That's it. Which, without the helm and the damage amp, what? So either Alexstras's Fury needs to just give you hot streak, or have the legendary helm built in, or something else. Because right now, this is insane. Hitting 2 targets always means you go Phoenix Flames, Pyro, Phoenix Flames, Pyro, Phoenix Flames, Pyro, or you go Phoenix Flames into Flame Strikes if you're AoEing. Because again, Phoenix Flames also does light AoE, which always crits. So it's not even light AoE. It's actually rather substantial, at least right now. And that's still pretty good. It also ignites. Your tooltip right now for Ignite doesn't include Phoenix Flames. It should update, but that's just a tooltip error. So that should be updated, hopefully, in the future. But way too good. And then Flame On, we tried to, like, backwards math Flame On, try to compare it in a pure patchworky situation with Phoenix Flames. And it's probably very close. So Flame On just gives you the extra charge of Fire Blast, and it reduces the cooldown charge time by an additional 2 seconds. So you have a lot more potential just smooth time due to the fact that you're always going to have an extra Fire Blast up a lot of the time. Which, outside of the combustion window, I'm just showing off right now because look at all the numbers. You're going to have a lot of additional... I got a Bracer proc there. Let me just do this. Put that up during the Bracer proc, and then go one of those, a double Pyro. So it gives you a lot more leeway and freedom to always follow up on your heating up into hot streaks for more consistent Pyroblast spam all the time versus the burst potential of Phoenix Flames, which is why it may very well be that Phoenix Flames is supposed to work like that for AoE. But that just means Alexstras's Fury is just actually awful. It's so weak. It's so incredibly weak. Every 20 seconds, you gain 1 extra hot streak step. Meh. We'll have to see if that gets updated. Again, I went through the 90 tier. Unstable Magic becomes the only option for a single target, which is boring. But the Fire Mage already has enough to worry about, I suppose, depending on if you're Searing Touching or you're Phoenix Flaming or whatever have you. So Unstable Magic is weird that it's in this tier, because it's the only option that's really good for single target, because you're not gonna flame patch things anymore, right? It's not the Legion pre-patch where Fire Mages ignored Pyroblast and just stacked flame patches. And Living Bomb is very, very, very little damage in comparison, at least the way it's currently balanced. And on live right now, I'm pretty much told that it was a DPS loss to cast Living Bomb. The GCD is a DPS loss, right? Unless you're hitting, what is it, 8+ targets or something? The joke that came up in chat was 20+ targets, Living Bomb equals feel good, man, right? I get that, sure. Living Bomb still does the explosion and then spreads once with the short cooldown, so you just pop it up all the time. But I'm not sure if that's going to be any bit changed to make it a rotational single target ability. Otherwise, you're just stuck with a really boring passive proc that just does damage. Unstable magic across the board, though, for both fire and arcane was nerfed to 40% split on the explosion damage, done from 50. That's just in the free damage cleave cut downs across the board. So kindling, I hovered over, is the same. It's that fireball, pyroblast, and fireblast critical strikes reduce the remaining cooldown of your combustion by 1 second. Again, the big extra synergy with Firestarter. But as you gain more and more gear, the Firestarter window becomes less and less important and less impactful in any progression sense, because the first 10% of a boss fight is gone. Unless the boss has ads that spawn, like a Bracken Spore fight that you have to DPS down ads, or you're doing the ads on Kenny G, Kingaroth, right, where they spawn at full health and you can get those extra spells that are guaranteed crits, so you get extra burst windows, etc., like that. And Pyromaniac is still the Divine Purpose spam. But I'll take Pyromaniac, A, because it's fun when it actually chains, and B, Pyroclasm. Pyroclasm are your legendary bracers. Consuming a hot streak has a 15% chance to make your next non-instant Pyroblast cast within 15 seconds, deal 300% additional damage, and has a maximum of 2 charges. The 2 charges is the biggest deal there, because you can easily do something like this. Right now, I can't cast a non-hot streaked Pyroblast. But I will definitely have the protection if it procs again. Maybe not. Nope. Unlucky. I actually tried to really recast it there so I can get an extra stack. Because if you have 1 stack of Pyroclasm and get the refresh, it will then give you the 15 seconds back so you can actually have it again. That's unfortunate, though, of course, while I'm recording. When I was testing live earlier today, I kept getting double stacks. And I really appreciated the double stack window that it gives you, that protection behind the scenes to not waste a Pyroclasm stack, waste a empowered Pyroblast, as it were. But right now I'm getting really unlucky with having a proc when I want to actually hardcast a Pyroblast. This is what happens whenever I start recording. Unbelievable. Are you actually kidding me? Really, though? Ah! Well, you know what it does. You're playing with the braces right now on live. So, Pyroclasm, very single target focused, very good feel if you can actually rotate them in. Again, it makes Shimmer almost kind of mandatory. So if you are hard casting that almost 4-second long quadruple damage Pyroblast, and you can Shimmer out of the way to not get murdered, right? To move out of mechanics. Or it also sort of makes Pyromaniac really strong in a sense of pre-execute, but Searing Touch giving you the Scorch, Fireblast, Pyro, Scorch, Pyro, Scorch, Fireblast, Pyro, really aggressive execute window. You're going to be firing off so many hot streaks, you're going to eat them all up and then easily bank multiple Pyroclasm procs. Even earlier in this video when I was hitting the Morale Booster target dummy, I probably had 1 or 2 stacks right there. Just because it's really, really easy to do with the Searing Touch combo. Which may happen with Firestarter, but you're not going to have anywhere near as much time with Firestarter as you would with Searing Touch. Of course, now I'm trying again. There we go. Oops. There we go. So I now have the 1 stack. So now what we're talking about to do is you can do this. Oh my gosh. That was a Pyromaniac proc in the middle. So the bracer window, and this works better with Flame On, because you obviously, Phoenix Flames has no synergy with this at all, but Flame On is fun with that, is because you can hard cast your pyroclasmed pyro, and if you have one stack of heating up going into it, then you can one fire blast and do the double pyroblast combo right there. And then because you ate the heating up after the pyroclasmed version was cast, it counts as you eating that charge. So hopefully then, if you get lucky enough and that pyro crits, then you're right back to the same thing, and then you can fire blast into an instant pyro, and then if you proc pyroclasm on that one, you can hard cast, and then again, you can cast 2 fire blasts while you're casting your pyro, and then go right into it. Just like that. You can hard cast into an instant cast pyroblast all day, like this. I got a proc right there. Look at that. Thank you, game. But that style, that multi-pyroblast, pyroclasm window, is very possible with Rune of Power. Now, with Rune of Power, you have 2 charges. You can use 1 Rune of Power on your combustion window, and then you can save 1 Rune of Power for a possible double pyroclasm multi. You can use Phoenix Flames too. You can go like Pyroblast, then like Phoenix Flames, Fire Blast, Pyroblast, etc. But that just depends on which one is easier to fit in global cooldown-wise into a 10-second Rune of Power window. So that's a interesting possibility because of this 2-charge holding system and the multi-pyros you can then fire off back to back to back to back to back, getting that sweet, sweet ignite stacking. And then Meteor. Meteor remains unchanged, still the very heavy, snappy burst after 3 seconds. Still works well in the Rune of Power window, or watching a macro, or a weak lore rather, sorry, when your Incanter's flow is ticking up to the 14, 16, then you cast it, it lands on 20. Little moments like that kind of a deal. But overall, that is the Fire Mage. So if you want to play like you play on live, you can very much just spec Belt, Artifact Weapon on Fire Melon, Pyroclasm with Legendary Bracers. Or you can spec the Kindling build. You can do Meteor, Rune of Power, and, you know, Alex Strauss's Fury. Sorry, this talent is so bad right now. But let me know what you think of the Fire Mage changes. They're not very vast compared to the other mages, but they're definitely there. The utility ones, by and large, I believe, are the far more interesting ones overall. Leave a comment down below or hit me up on Twitter if I have missed something or you have thoughts about the spec. Subscribe right here to the YouTube channel if you would like to be up to date on all the first pass, second pass, island exploration, expeditions, and Warfront coverage to come, and probably dungeons too. Dungeons might be a viewer poll pick on, or viewer in stream chat on Twitch or on Twitter, where I pick something randomly and they pick the spec that I play for a dungeon that I record. So we'll see about that, because more and more people are getting alpha, right? So I can actually make dungeon groups with people from the stream. That'll be like fun. That'll be very exploration, very probably 42 minutes to an hour of just like really kind of moving through it and figuring it all out. We'll see. But thank you very much for watching. I will see you either here on the YouTube comments, on Twitter, or on Twitch. And I will see you all in the next first pass coverage. Monks are up next. Not sure what spec though. Monks are next though.